This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, everybody. This is Tammy D of Infamy. If you've been following me for a while, you've probably got a few of my emails, and I've been on the Three Stooges kind of kick lately. And I apologize for that. Well, I don't. I love the Stooges. But if you've been following the Stooges Annuity Alliance, I'm going to talk a little bit about that and the whole background behind it. But first, I want to say that I'm, going to be serious in this video for the most part. And you see a hippo on my screen. Well, when I hit the screen, there we go. Now you see a hippo on my screen. And it's what I use to illustrate a simple point. If you and I were to see that hippo out in the middle of our town, like we're walking through downtown Cleveland, and just like in Jumanji or something, some animals like a hippo starts running down the street. We're not going to ask ourselves, do we need a scientific test to prove that's a hippo? Do we need some more research and data to prove that's a hippo? Or are we going to run because our previous knowledge and our experience and our intuition tell us that we're going to get crushed or eaten if we stand there, right? So we're going to run, right? That is that amygdala in action, right, of your brain. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because right now in this country, we are in a state of constant denial, right? And it goes all the way up to the top, because you and I in financial services, and if you're listening to this, you're either a real estate investor, or hopefully you are a financial services guy or gal, or an annuity salesperson or a life insurance person, right? And you're listening to this, you know in your heart of hearts that we've had 2 quarters back to back of economic, of no growth, right? And generally speaking, that's a recession. In fact, I looked back, and for 49 years, the organization that's responsible for calling a hippo or a recession has always, for 49 years, said after 2 negative quarters, it's a recession. In 2008, for example, that's the nearest we have. Same thing that triggered that idea of recession. But it seems like, and call me cynical, that same organization is somewhat loath to announce that now. I think they're afraid of what's going to happen when people hear it spoken. It's sort of like whispering around saying, he might have cancer, or the C word, and then somebody actually says cancer out loud and everyone freaks out. So I think they're afraid of that. I think they're afraid of losing their power for sure. For sure, elections are coming up. So everyone's really, really hesitant to call it a recession. But it is, okay? So what we're going to talk about today is that recession and your business as a financial advisor and agent, and what's happening in the background that you may or may not be aware of, that I think you need to be aware of. Now, first and foremost, I want to say I don't have a vendetta against any of the organizations that I will mention here, and some that I won't mention, okay? But you will figure out who they are. Many of you have been on my list for a long time. I've been doing this longer than the people in question, in fact. So I'm going to tell you the whole story behind the Stooges and everything else. And those of you who are, right now, I'm going to give you a chance to jump out, right? Those of you who have been told by said organization to ignore Tammy, and that she's just a support person that worked for us for a while, but she's not working for us anymore, blah, blah, blah. If you got that email and you actually are considering doing that, or you would actually take marching orders for an organization that's supposed to be working for you and not running your practice vicariously, and not running your practice and telling you which vendors you can use and how you can market and what products you can sell. So if you're the kind of person that wants to take orders from them because maybe they've given you a little freebies here now and then I don't want to talk to you, and you can go ahead and turn this recording off. However, if you're independent because you chose to be independent, and you want to stay independent, and you want to be a beacon of hope for your struggling clients, for seniors who need you, whoever your target market is. If you want to be that person, if that's the reason you got into this business, then lean into this. Listen to what I have to say, weigh it carefully, check it out for yourself, and let me know if maybe you have what it takes to be a rebel agent. So, rebel agents, I'm hoping they're on the line with me right now. So let's talk to the rebel agents. Rebel agents, let me tell you the sad, sad story. I don't want to tell you that sad story. What do I want to tell you? I want to tell you the sad, sad story of how and why I started Safe Money Trends. Now, ultimately, it'll probably work out better for me. But I will tell you right off the top of my head, it's not for money. Because if it were, I, wouldn't eat at all. So here's the deal. Many of you may recall that I worked for a certain website content publisher known as gratuity.com. That's not their real name, but you can figure it out, right? So here's what happened. When I first got involved with gratuity.com and some of the people at the Annuity Stooges Alliance, I was really excited because I thought, here's a group that seems to be wanting to do the great things for agents. And so I helped them promote their radio show. And please forgive me if you got into the radio show because of me. I repent. I'm sorry. I had no idea what was going on, because when I first saw it, man, they only showed me the goody parts. They only showed me the shiny stuff. They didn't show me that the engine was leaking oil and everything. So I looked at this. I saw the lead flow. I talked to the happy hosts, and I thought, wow, that's a good thing. So then they showed me some other stuff, and they basically, I'm just like you. I'm not immune to getting blinded by science. The one thing they couldn't get me on is that they kept saying, oh, you can make a lot of money. No, that is what most people, maybe, I don't even think that's what most people care about. All I cared about is working for an organization that would not stab me in the back at the very least, right? That would take care of my agents, because I brought so many people into their world. They don't even know how many people came to know them because I thought they were good and I promoted them, right? So fast forward, I did many different projects with them. I did their Retire Vo, or Retire Village, not Retire Vo. Retire Vo is good. Actually, you look it up, retirevo.com. That's the one you want to do if you still want to do a drip. Okay, I'm just going to plug that in there, because Retire Village is not what it was when I first started, not by a long shot. And it really, in my opinion, it hasn't been developed the way it should be. But that's aside. That's my opinion, only my opinion. We'll go forward. So then I started working on this new initiative, which was called Invited Authors. And Invited Authors was the promise of getting you some press, getting you up there in search if you write articles and post them to the blog. What I came to understand, and what I should have known, because I've been doing marketing for a long time, and I've been writing, and I've written for like even newspapers that didn't constrain me the way these guys did. But so I'm writing for this, and I'm thinking, wait a minute. What you're really doing, because see, the advisors paid me. They didn't pay the Invited Author program. For the most part, they paid me for some stuff that they wanted on their website, but for the most part, they didn't compensate me directly. It was the advisors who paid me to post, 500 to 600 word articles for them on a regular basis. And some of you I've done it for, and I really enjoy working with you one-on-one. But they even tried to limit my interaction with agents as much as they could. And they tried to, give me all these parameters that I had to do. So now that I'm free, I can write about all kinds of subjects, anything that you want. As long as your compliance officer's cool with it, I'm cool with it. So anyway, we were doing the writing, and then things started happening. One of the things that happened, that really, there were some things that alarmed me from the beginning as time went by, and I began to see more of the inner workings of these organizations. And I began to see a couple of important things. One is these advisors are paying me to create content that drives traffic back to gratuity.com and those places. Gratuity, rhymes with that other product. They were driving traffic back for them. In other words, they weren't paying at all for content. The advisors were subsidizing the content that went on that website. And as I began to think about that, I thought, that's probably not good. So what happens when you create that much flow of content? They encourage you to take that article and go promote it on your social media and everywhere else, right? And then you find out when you leave, you can't take that article with you, or they are threatening you. They're threatening to sick the lawyers on you if you use that content. And I will show you proof of that maybe in further videos. But they threatened, you can't reuse that content because it's ours. How is it yours if I paid for it? These are what advisors were asking. I had no answers. So the stooges told them, well, it's in your contract. Please, if you're out there and you've experienced that and you have a copy of the contract, you can redact out all the personal stuff. Send me a copy that says you have to give away your written content that you've created. I mean, it's one thing if they gave you a free website, you didn't pay for it at all, and they want to take it down, that's fine. But if you let them register your URL and you didn't own it or control it, you're in trouble, because if they take down your site and they have control of your URL, you'll have to start all over again, because they're not going to give it back to you. They might sell it back to you, but they're not going to give it back. So if you had ABC Financial Toledo Inc. and you let them, the web designers, register it for you, you let these stooges own it and control it, yeah, it could be some problems if you decide to leave. Just letting you know. So anyway, own your own domain if you don't own anything else. But those free websites, they're not entirely free. They have expectations. And so they have strings attached, just like free government stuff. Just think of it that way. So you have to ask yourself, is that free website enough for me to give away my book of business, to give away my sovereignty, to upload my contacts into a system that other people can get into fairly easily? Maybe not. So these are the questions I want you to have in mind for any FMO, IMO, because they're all the same fundamentally. I mean, there's a few good ones out there, very few. And it's easy to find the good ones because there's not that many of them, but the rest of them will promise you the sun, moon, and stars. So they promised these guys, they got these guys hooked up, and I wrote the articles, and then we published the articles, and then when they left, they couldn't find their content. And so that's what started it all. People calling me and saying, do you have copies of that stuff you wrote for me? Why? Well, it's gone, or it's been repurposed. That was how they retained control, was they repurposed it under staff writer. And then if you don't do it correctly and you try to put it on your website, even though you wrote it or you paid for it, right? They're going to say that you plagiarized their content. Oh, no, 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 no. So if this is a problem with you, please reach out to me. I can show you how to fix this, okay? And there's a way to fix it. And there's a way that you can get past all the threats of lawsuits and everything else. They're nonsense, okay? So if you get a cease and desist, I would say do it back, countersue, whatever. Anyway, so there's the content that was there. Now, if they made a video for you and they paid for it and they want to take it down, unless they specifically said this is yours for life, sorry, there's nothing you can do about that. So remember the freebie stuff. It's just like at the playground when you were a kid and only one kid had the kickball, right? So you had to let Mikey play because he had the kickball. Even though he was not a good player, you had to let him play because he had the kickball. And if he got mad or, wet his pants or whatever, and he would take the kickball and leave and go home because his kickball, his rules. This is what I'm telling you. If you don't own your content, They do. And they will use it against you. They're trying, instead of bringing value to advisors and just working their butts off to make you guys money, most of these IMOs, FMOs, to my great chagrin, most of these IMOs and FMOs, they only care about the bottom line, how much you're producing. To them, you are a number. And I have sat into many, many, many meetings where I can tell you they don't have a very high opinion of the average agents. They only care about the superstars. They care about the guys that put 100% of their business with them, don't quote unquote write around them, even though it might be in the best interest of your client to write another product with another company. Oh, they get so bent out of shape about that, and they pull the plug on your stuff. It's called the kill switch. As a matter of fact, when I was working, doing some of the other contracting work I did, I was told that, yeah, I want to use this thing you're doing, Tammy, but it has to have a kill switch. No, 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 no. That's not how life works. You don't have relationships with people by blackmailing them and roping them in and threatening to take their supper away if they don't play with you. It doesn't work like that. So if you're sick and tired of that, you have an FMO, IMO that's like that, that's old school. Okay, they'll be Pac-Man devoured pretty soon. But if you're ready to jump ship, talk to me. Like I said, I don't represent an IMO or FMO. I don't want to recruit you, but I may be able to give you some connections you can make, and you can make your own decisions about who you want to work with, because it's your hard work that they're profiting from your hard work, the risk you take when you go out and see, especially a senior client, and all the rules you could possibly break and all the things that could happen. You're taking the risk and they're profiting, and they're not doing anything for you. So I have, like I said, there's a few people that have said, well, my FMO works for me, and that's fine. If they're doing a good job, stay with them. I don't care. So going on to the stories, I created this content. I got advisors just like you. I got agents calling me saying, hey, what the heck is going on? And it became a cascade of agents, because here's the dirty secrets of the radio. Basically, they churn out about every 3 months. So yeah, let's talk radio for a second. And again, my opinion, free speech. I'm just going to say that I started out in radio a long, long time ago. That was my original degree, and then I decided not to do that and go into print journalism. But I love radio, and I'm sad to see land radio disappear, but it's inevitable. I mean, we knew years ago that it was going to go digital someday. There's just so many advantages of digital, and I think digital platforms really give ordinary people a chance to have their voice heard. So I'm all for that. And you know that I've been podcasting off and on and producing podcasts since like the very beginning, before, when Blog Talk was the only platform around. So I like podcasts, I like radio. I'm just saying, land radio, oh my gosh, it's overpriced because they're struggling. The reason you're paying so much for airtime is there's a couple of reasons. One is I checked on airtime. I had radio show hosts tell me, well, let's talk about Teresa right there on your screen. So Teresa, who is a dear friend of mine, a personal friend of mine, we started a land radio show together years ago, and it was originated in Austin, Texas. And we actually, we enjoyed doing it. It was wonderful, but it was expensive to buy airtime in Austin. Austin was an emerging market, and it was a good market. And she loved doing the show. And you can even find, if you go to livingwealthyradio.com, you will see that we had a lot of interesting and high profile guests. We did not do a scripted infomercial. So Teresa was doing this. We were building up a decent audience, and it got very expensive for her. So she shifted to a podcast, and then was on the podcast for many years after that. And I think only in the last couple of years, she just has been so busy with clients that she has not kept up with it. But it was a great, great venue, because did it bring in tons of leads? Were people calling in? No, that is not going to happen. I swear, unless you're somebody who's been established in your area for years, or you pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to a marketing company to promote the heck out of you, you're not going to be the next Dave Ramsey. You're not going to get these leads, and you're not going to get all the advertising revenue, generally speaking. It's just a crowded field. Everybody wants to do this. They think that they're going to do a show and they're going to air it, and then magically all these people are going to pull their cars over to the side of the road and call you. That's not how it works. Most people are listening in their cars. Remember that, okay? So even if they want to call in, generally they're not going to do it. They might remember the 800 number if you've got some clever, like 800 get rich, that's 800 get rich. They might remember it that way, and they might remember to call you later. But generally speaking, it's getting very hard for land radio to work. Okay, it's very challenging. Now, there's always going to be exceptions, and I love these FMO IMOs. They bring out the superstars, right? It's just like weight loss or anything else, right? Here's Mary. She lost 75 pounds on the new energy laden diet number 33, whatever it is they're promoting. Our shakes made Jim go from a 98-pound weakling to a 220-pound bodybuilder overnight. And they always have the disclaimer at the bottom, results not typical. That means out of 100,000 people that come through that program, one of them will stick with it and be successful. And you know what? Same with the IMOs, FMOs. So they hold up these superstars to you, right? They go, look, our radio show host, Dan Bossanova, or whoever it is that they're holding up that day, he gets 40,000 leads a year from his radio show, which covers the entire state of Illinois. Wouldn't you like to be like him with endless leads? He's got so many, he can't even work them all. He has to sell them off to other agents because he's so awesome, right? So that's the person they hold up. What they don't tell you is the backstory. They don't tell you that Bossanova is spending a ton of money on marketing. He's not just doing radio, he's doing books, he's doing seminars, he's doing webinars, he's doing articles, he's all over the place, right? So you spend $800,000 a year in marketing and advertising, and I guarantee you're going to get some leads. Are they worth it? Did you do the return on investment? If you spend 800,000 and you make 100,000, is that a good thing? Because if you think that's good, then I don't want you handling anyone's money. You need to go into another business. So you need to know how much is that wonderful marketing costing you. So with radio, what they do is they appeal to your ego. They go, hey, you got a great voice, or you got a face for radio. You've got this wonderful voice, and we are going to exploit your natural charisma. We're going to make you famous in your geographical area. Everybody will know the name of Al Schnitzenauer. Al Schnitzenauer, you're going to be famous, more famous than Susie Orman, more famous than Dr. Phil, more famous than Oprah when we get finished with you. Radio is going to bring you tons of copious leads. You will never have to spend another dime on any other advertising because radio is going to make you a superstar. Are you ready to sign up? Yeah, you are, right? Because you're not getting the client flow that you want. You've tried buying their crappy leads. Those don't work because they're garbage. You have gone from one lead company to the other. You've done this. You did a dinner seminar, cost you $6,000, and you got 20 people to show up, and you made one appointment, and it resulted in no sales. So you're desperate. You're going to try. You haven't tried radio. Your significant other always told you, wow, you have a nice voice. You should do radio. So you do radio. And they tell you, you got to give it at least 3 to 6 months because, got to build an audience and you're not going to get results right away. I mean, they tell you that, but you're still expecting on a deep down level. You're going, man, this is so expensive. This better work, right? You're behind the 8 ball and you're desperate. And the first month, oh, it's no big deal. Nobody called in. It's a boring scripted show, but I still expected people to call in. And the next month goes by. How many call-ins did we have? We had 2 or 3. One was the wrong number. Okay. Next month goes by. Maybe 10 people call in because you did some good social media promotion. You told people you had the show. 10 call in. Oh, 6 of them are already your clients. You know, they're just calling in to support you. And 4 of them, well, that data is weird. Nobody answers the phone when you call. So this is coming from actual stories that advisors have told me. In fact, 2 or 3 advisors that I reached out to told me that they spent over $50,000 in radio and got no results. Because here's the thing, they'll say, how much does radio cost? Well, we can get you on the air, 30-minute show once a week for the low price of $3,000. But wait, that's $3,000 to buy the airtime because they're going to mark that airtime up. Trust me, if you're a good negotiator, you can get the airtime at any radio station for less than what these guys are selling it for, because they're marking it up so that the marketing person in the middle can get some, and the organization gets some, and then the guy that produces the show gets some. You know how it goes. So you can actually do that yourself, okay, if you know how to do it. And that's one of the things we're going to be doing in our masterminds, is talking about the inside nitty-gritty of doing all this stuff, right? Because I'm sick and tired of this nonsense. All right, now, so you've spent that much money. Okay, that's a lot of money. Do you know that you could have taken that money and put a down payment on a multifamily cash flowing apartment complex and made more money than you did by spending it with them? You could have done that. You could have taken $10,000 instead of 50 and bought a bunch of ads that probably would have brought you more business. Definitely would have brought you more business. You would have probably made at least one sale off of it, and maybe you could pay a web developer to create your own sales funnel. You could have bought a book, meaning you could have paid a ghostwriter to write an entire book for you, used a sale funnel, start driving traffic to it, buying pay per clicks or whatever you needed to do, and you'd still spend less money than that. And it would be yours, because here's the nasty thing. You've paid all this money. So you start off with $3,000. You're in a major metropolitan area where you have a heck of competition. Okay, let's say you're in San Diego, California. You're in San Diego. That is a tough market. It's a big market, but it's a tough market because you're kind of sort of competing with the greater LA metropolitan area, right? So you're competing. You're in San Diego. There's 5 or 10 or 15 other financial type guys on the radio in some form or another, right? So airtime is expensive there, but getting listeners is difficult, right? So already you're behind the 8 ball and you spent $3,000 to try this. So your marketer says, oh, don't worry about it. Just try it for a few more months. And this is how people get addicted. They get addicted to the promise that this is going to deliver, just like it does for Bossa Nova and for some of the other famous celebrity type annuity salespeople, right? They're gonna think that, but it's not going to. So anyway, that's I mean, we all know this intuitively, right? We know that it's BS when we're looking at these commercials and it says John made $40,000 last week on his Amazon store. You can too. We all know that, but we still fall for it because we're desperate for success. And we want to take shortcuts. We don't want to build the house solidly. We want to get to the top of the mountain with a helicopter instead of going up it, right? So here we go. All these things in radio that I'm telling you are absolutely true and verifiable, and you can call, you can ask people, whatever. So for every one successful agent, I figure in radio, there's 5,000 that never made it and never will make it. So what can you do to generate leads? Well, that's what I really want to teach people, some skill sets and tools that you can use, okay? So maybe you have some good lead sources, and if you're smart, you will never share those with your IMO or FMO because they will outright steal them and tell other agents what you're doing. So there's a difference between collaborating and mentoring someone that is like-minded and in just giving your stuff away, okay? So we're gonna learn the difference between the two for sure. So you don't want to be just giving things away. You want to be valued for your information, right? So you might have good lead sources, and almost every lead source plays out at some point. So you need to have 2 or 3 in the works. And maybe those are working for you, but you think you need another one. Make sure you check on that, on how well that other additional lead source is going to work. Talk to people who've done it. Don't talk to people who are the poster children. Ignore the poster children that are on these websites. Ignore the ones, well, he made $100 million in annuities last year. Ignore those guys. Look for the lesser, look for the newer, if you can find them, the newer people doing it, and ask them, how's it been so far? Oh, it's been hard. It's been very expensive. I had to mortgage my house. I had to sell off my firstborn child, but I did it. So don't fall for that. Not only are you going to have to pay for airtime, right? You're going to have to pay a production company, and let's just call them Little Pinky. And Little Pinky production company is going to charge you an arm and a pinky for doing the production that you probably could have had somebody, in high school do for you, or you could actually go on some websites and have it done overseas. And I've had very good results doing that. We'll teach you how to do that too in the group. So anyway, you go to Little Pinky, you pay them. Maybe you pay a guy to come on and say, here's Joe Smith with Super Annuity Hour of Power. Maybe you pay a marketing company to promote it, and you pay for this, you pay for that, you pay me to write content, you pay this, you pay. No, it ends up being, no kidding, easily $6,000 a month if you're doing it the right way. Do you want to do that? Okay, you have things to say. So here's what I suggest. If you're thinking about radio, before you commit, before you sign on the dotted line, let me interview you on my podcast, and you'll see if you're just comfortable with that. See if it works for you. See, they're telling you, oh, you don't have to do anything. You just have to read off a script. You're going to sound like one of those freaking low-class testimonials on TV late at night. Hi, I'm James. I made $1 million with Steve's ABC wealth plan. That's how you're going to sound. And so some of those radio shows, funnily enough, they sound exactly like that. They sound like there's a wooden head guy reading off a script, and he's about as interesting as dry paint. And all he talks about is annuities. Annuities. How much can you say about annuities? Well, Stan the Annuity Man, I love that guy. He has the best marketing for annuities ever. If you want to emulate anybody, emulate Stan the Annuity Man, because he makes interesting, funny remarks and funny videos, and he makes annuities fun again. So anyway, if you go to stantheannuityman.com and look at his stuff, I've talked to him on the phone. I don't know him, but he's great. So they're not going to give you that interesting stuff. No, you're going to get this script, and it's going to go, hi, are you looking for safety? Something like that. You've heard these shows. You've probably done these shows. That's not what your audience wants to hear. And let me tell you something. Everybody's focused on boomers. And really, I don't believe in generational theory myself. But if you want to call that generation boomers, they're dying off. And they're replaced by people like me who, for better or worse, know enough about technology to be dangerous and want different things than that previous generation. Don't have the same values, don't have the same upbringing, don't have the same needs, right? So all the stuff you're focusing on boomers, eventually you're going to run out of boomers, and you're going to move into Gen X, and you're going to move into millennials, and maybe even Gen Z. Again, again with the labels, this is all, understand generational stuff is pure theory, just like horoscopes, right? It's generalizations and it's theory. It's not a science. So that being said, you have to be a person that's flexible and has a message that resonates with that particular kind of person. So instead of looking at a demographic and saying, do I want to attract boomers? You want to get deeper, and you want to say, what kind of people do I like working with? That's it. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the psychology, not of selling, but of relating to people, of connecting with people. Because fundamentally, if you're a good agent, you are a connector, right? All my agents on Safe Money Trends. First and foremost, Teresa Kuhn, wonderful connector. Wonderful connector. Sean Sparkman, awesome connector. Andrew Winnett, Jerry Yu, all of those guys are fantastic at one thing. They're fantastic at many things, but one thing overall stands out. They are connectors and they love their clients. This is the person I want. So hopefully if you're on still at this point in time, that's who you are, because honestly, again, if you're the kind of person that because I was going to tell you what started this was the emails, the nasty emails I got from gratuity.com, and eventually I will show you those. I showed you one in an email if you got it from me, but basically I don't want to work with the kind of people that would take marching orders again from people that are supposed to be working for you. So don't let them tell you. If you want to stay independent, you're going to have to do some things. Okay. Now, let's talk independent again. Let's talk about something that surely some of you have noticed. This is integrity. I don't know much about them. This is not an aspersion on their characters in any way, shape, or form. This is my opinion. This is what I've noticed. This is all on the internet and you can find it. Integrity over the last 5 years has acquired over 55 smaller FMO IMOs. If you look, you'll see their press releases all over the place on Cision and PR Log and some other places where they're talking about all these different agencies that they've acquired. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go find one right now for you just so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay. Just by pure coincidence, not. I found, oops, no, get free leads. Oh, heavens, that's got to be another FMO. They always promise you that, don't they? And they're always the crappiest leads. If they were that great, they wouldn't be offering them to you. They'd be using them themselves. Oh, yeah, a story for another time. Okay, so let's look at this. If you go in and Google integrity marketing to acquire, you will find a boatload. And recently they've been on a roll. The reason for that is they got a big capital infusion a few months ago. Big investors, they put money behind them, and then Integrity Market went to town buying as many of these as possible. Some names you may recognize, like Broker's Choice, used to be a big player back in the early 2000s. Or the 90s and 2000s. So they are acquiring, they don't seem to care about the quality of the IMO, FMO. They only care about the bottom line or what they're being told are the sales. So they're trying to, anybody that's marginally successful, they are acquiring. Okay, so what does this mean for you? And this really brings me back to what I wanted to talk to you today about. The reason I got on my high horse was because of those guys losing their content. But the reason I'm staying on the high horse is because this is happening whether you like it or not. They're snapping up your IMO FMOs. Those of you who have half a brain and maybe are IARs or RIAs or whatever, you might see this already and you might say, I want to stay independent. I need to do some things. If you want to become an employee, the surest thing you can do is partner up with one of these FMO IMOs that are getting bought out, because you will become an employee. And this is easy to prove. All you have to do is go on and read their press releases and see, here's the bill of goods, right? So your FMO, IMO, whether you hate them or you love them or whatever, they're going to spin this and say, listen, we just got bought out by Integrity and this means big things for you. You're going to get leads. There's the heroin there, right? Ooh, we're going to give you free heroin leads. Now we're going to give you something else. We're going to give you technology. We're going to give you InsurTech. What's InsurTech? Oh, it's AI. Oh, AI. I've heard of that. That's good stuff, isn't it? Oh, I need AI. All my clients are going to want AI. Means nothing, and we'll talk about that later. But they're promising you this shiny stuff, and you guys are like, and gals, like crows. Sometimes you see the shiny thing and you want it. I must have that. It's new. That advisor down the road has that. I want that. So they dangle this out and they spin it. But what they don't tell you is that you're slowly but surely having your independence stripped from you. Because one of the things that integrity sells to these agencies to get them to come on board is the fact, hey, your advisors are going to get all these, like, they're going to get benefits, and like, we're going to, like, welcome them into the family, and they're going to have ownership in our organization. Well, that kind of sounds like an ESOP or something, or that sounds like some sort of employee benefit, maybe. Because if you're really independent, you're not getting those benefits, and that could be a problem. And if you're on the call and you're listening and you're going, oh my gosh, I do need an FMO because I can't afford benefits, and I understand that. Okay, I understand. What I'm saying is not to throw this out, but what I'm saying is, if they're giving you benefits and ownership, and how they speak about you so important, they are classifying you, in their minds at least, as an employee. And as time goes on, you're going to be expected to do what they tell you to do. Whether they say that or not, it's an expectation. Why? Because they got a bunch of hungry investors. They want returns, and they're not patient. They want them now. And so the pressure will be on this company, I guarantee. And even though they're positioning themselves as family owned and values based and all that good fuzzy stuff, the reality is people don't put bazillions of dollars into companies without the expectation that they will do whatever's necessary to shore up the bottom line. And by whatever's necessary, I mean that if you aren't producing the way they think you should be producing, right? If you're not doing the things that they tell you to do, if you are just out of line in any way, they're going to throw you to the curb, and that's that. And you're going to lose all the freebies they gave you, right? So remember, if you need these things, you can probably get them yourselves. You are an insurance person. You should be able to get yourself negotiated some good benefits, right? If you can't, call one of your colleagues who does benefits and see what you can put together on your own. Because if you want to stay independent, this is not the way to go. And even the one a couple of days ago, I talked to you about Patrick Bet David. And Patrick Bet David even sold to these guys. So probably for him, he is so involved. He has a wonderful podcast. He's involved in so many things, and he's really, really wealthy. He just probably said, I'm ready to cash out. And this was the best offer that he had, right? Because these guys have pocketfuls of cash because of all the angel investors or the venture capitalists that have backed them. So they walk into an agency and they dangle a big old packet of cash. And I don't blame these guys for selling out. They're like, wow, we can get rid of all the headaches and we can live the life. Yeah, we'll take it. But they're making the money off of it and not you. And the way they're getting you to stay on board so they can get more value, get more, they want a higher valuation, so they don't want you to jump ship. And the way they do that is by spinning it. Oh, it's good for you. You're going to get all this wonderful dashboard and technology. We're going to give you internet generated leads, and we're going to send you flowers every day. Well, maybe not that, but you know what I'm saying. They're selling it. They're selling it, and you're buying it. So here's the thing. We've got integrity buying everything out. Do you want to stay independent or not? That's what you have to ask yourself. Do you want to be a rebel agent? That's what brings me to all of what we're doing. The Safe Money Trends, YouTube. You need to go in there and look at that. You need to look at some of the writing that we're doing that's going to be more in depth than any of the blog posts that you did for gratuity.com. You're going to need to look at the way we do customer testimonials. That's radically different from anyone out there. That is going to make your clients love you and refer you. So important. So if you want to be a rebel agent, we have a strict cap. We're not just, this is not just a marketing term for me. I do not have the personal bandwidth. I don't want to hire a lot of people. I don't want to do any of that stuff. I'm going to limit it to 50 agents who want to work with me to change the industry. And I really mean change the industry by going back to humanity again, by not buying into the commission mentality, by talking to their customers like people and treating them like humans. If you are that person, I'm only going to have 50 people, period. My partner in this has said she's not going to be able to handle more than 50 either. So 50 is going to be our cap. When we get 50, we are going to do some amazing things. We already have a mastermind started. We're going to talk about generating your own leads, working your own warm leads, your own database, how to work it properly, how to get better referrals, how to do client testimonials that won't get you in trouble with your compliance officer. Lots of information, but we're only going to give it to people that work with us. So if you want to find out about working with us, you need to go to Save Money Trends. And there's a button on there somewhere. I always forget where this is. Oh my gosh. Let's see, Safe Money Trends contact, or I think it's, oops, knocked over the microphone. Sorry about that. Drop us a line. Drop us. Is it drop us a line? There it is. Are you a safe money trendsetter? Here you go. So go to this URL that you see on your screen and drop me a line and put a comment. I heard your podcast. I'm interested in becoming a rebel, and I will reach out to you personally, and you can do that anytime that you want. Fill the whole thing out, okay? Please tell us what you're interested in most. And everything that we do is custom. It's specific to you. You own the content. That's so critical. You own the content. You own your own URL if we do website for you. If we do scripts, same with that. If you want to get on a podcast or anything like that, please let us know, okay? Thanks for staying with me this far. I appreciate all of you. And if you want to help me build a different kind of public relation agency, please reach out to us, safemoneytrends.com/drop-us-a-line/. It's right up there on your screen. Have a great day, and we will definitely talk again.